All right, so if you're going to start building out a team, even if it's only going to be a 2-person team, that's okay. 3-person team, right? But you've got to really give this a lot of thought. One of the top reasons that startups fail is because of co-founder conflict. And this is a very real issue. I think it happens even more too if you bring on a late co-founder, once you're already working towards a vision, once you've already started building something, and then somebody gets thrown in and has to try to make it work, but it doesn't really sync with their own vision of how to do it. So that's really challenging. So your best bet is to bring somebody in very early before you've started to build. Now, of course, all of the great investors and accelerators tell you, oh, well, you want this to be somebody you know, have known for years, you trust, you've worked with before. But at the end of the day, that doesn't always exist for everybody. So if that does exist for you, find that person and gobble them up quickly. Now, in your first year or so, it's okay that you're working on the project fractionally. It's actually even preferred. You do not want to quit your jobs and go all in, as hard as it is. I know it is so hard, but you don't want to do that until you have a finished product that is sellable, that you have verified people will buy. If you quit your job too early, like me, then you could be sitting around for months or even years trying to get your product working well, working right, validating the customer demand, validating product market fit, all those things you want to be doing while you're still earning income at a primary source. Otherwise, if you're trying to pay yourselves, you're trying to live on nothing for a long time before you even have a finished product, it's very unlikely that you're going to make it to the other side. I completely get, I want to go all in, give it everything. You get out of things what you put into them. That's totally fair and totally true. However, you also have to survive, take care of yourself, and not set up yourself to fail or run out of cash, or then all of a sudden have to go get a job when your product is almost finished and ready to start being sold, right? You want to keep your job while it's being built. So the best thing you can both do is fractionally work on it for however long it takes to get a minimum viable product built, some type of customer validation or traction, and be ready to start, launching, fundraising, or whatever it is that you're going to do as your next step. So think about, okay, who can build this? And if you don't have somebody, you don't know somebody, you can try to find one. So number one thing I wish I had done before launching a startup was to get involved with the startup community in your area. So I'm in San Diego. We have Startup San Diego. It's a bunch of tech founders, some investors, there's panels, there's service providers, there's all people that work with or at tech companies. And it's a really eye-opening experience once you join. You start to hear key themes. You'll start to hear about all the founders who developed their apps in India and it was a disaster. You'll start to hear about all the co-founder fallouts and how people ended up having to walk away from companies that they loved because of the co-founder conflict. You'll start to hear about the fundraising pitfalls. So there's so many different things that you want to learn and be aware of early, before you've quit your job, before you've finished and launched a product. So get involved in the tech scene, start following people that are influencers in your space. So if you're going to build a SaaS company, a marketplace company, a consumer product company, start following people like that on LinkedIn and social media and seeing what are the trends, what are people talking about, what are they seeing. Follow the investors that invest in that space, right? You really want to be very well aware of the market that you're entering into and what the trends and challenges are before you go all in and launch that. Something I've learned as I launched a marketplace company, and nobody really likes marketplace companies. Now, there are some people here and there, San Francisco, New York, but in San Diego and Orange County, if you're not talking about biotech or medical devices, nobody really wants to talk to you. So that is a really big challenge that I've had to overcome, is finding investors and people that even want to talk about my product with it being a marketplace. So know about those challenges and really think about how they're going to impact you, and think about how you find somebody that can build with you while working your jobs until and is willing to put in that hustle, put in those extra miles to be able to get you guys to a good enough place to be confident in going all in with it. Now, if you don't already have somebody in mind, there are different co-founder matching things. Y Combinator has one, but also you can post a job. You can post a job on LinkedIn. You can post a job on Indeed. You don't have to be fully incorporated and have everything all figured out, but you can start meeting people. You can start getting to know people. Go to those tech events in your area. See who's technical. See who's looking for their next opportunity. So you can start meeting people very, very early and spending some time with them, talking to them, keeping them updated, seeing, what their background is and why their skills might be relevant to your business. Again, problem with founder group number 3 is we tend to move too quickly. Now, founder group number 1 doesn't really move at all. And so they may be meeting people along the way and not really making progress with those conversations. But founder group number 3, we tend to hire somebody too quickly because we're always racing. And then it can hit the fan, and oh boy, has it. So be thoughtful, take your time to find the right person, as excited and eager as you are. Trust me, I'm the most impatient person on the planet. But it would really benefit me sometimes to slow down and extend the process to make sure, especially when it comes to a co-founder, you guys, at this point, I work on my company more than I'm with my family and my spouse, right? So this co-founder, you're going to be probably spending more time with than your significant other. So just think about that. So it's more than a marriage, and there's risk and business and all these other things. So it's very similar to getting married to somebody. So you want to date before you get married. You want to spend as much time together as you can before you start signing contracts and building something together. You want to know who they are as a person, because that is really relevant, even if they have fantastic skills. If you don't believe me, watch the movie War Dogs. I just saw it recently, even though everyone apparently has seen it except for me. And you'll start to see, oh, this co-founder was setting off all kinds of red flags, but the person was sort of overlooking and ignoring that, wanting to get into the venture together. So you cannot ignore those types of red flags. I had my own challenges with somebody who was showing a lot of red flags, and I'll get into that another time, but you got to get that right. So whatever it takes to try to get that right. And also the reason you need some type of founding team as opposed to being a solo founder is you will not be seen as investable. So that's something I learned the hard way as well. I went at it as a solo founder for a long time. I even hired a bunch of contractors to rewrite my Broken India application. And I had a lot of smart people there, but because I didn't have a co-founder, most investors and accelerator programs wouldn't even speak to me. It was an automatic decline. So I don't agree with that. It's definitely not something that I see as relevant, considering how much I was able to do myself and that I was always able to fill those technology gaps, even though it was a constant struggle, still is. People don't think that one person is enough. And part of the reason for that is, well, what if something happens to you, right? Some of the questions are, what about burnout and mental health? And those aren't really things I think about as much personally, because I've always been an overperformer, work a ton. I've never had, true burnout or mental health exhaustion issues from work. And now I'm actually doing something that's my own company, so I'm even more passionate about it. But that is a very real thing for thousands, if not millions of founders, is that burnout and that mental health just breakdown when you're just sprinting 1,000,000 miles a minute for 2 years straight and you never stop to take care of yourself. So having a co-founder can share the stress and be somebody who's there for you throughout the process. Be a sounding board, fill the skill set gaps that you don't have, and show customers, show investors, show others that you are a cohesive team that can truly deliver on the company that you're starting. If you're only one half of the puzzle, then that doesn't get you there in the end. So if you can find that right person, do it early. Bringing on a late co-founder is much, much harder. You can certainly try your best as a solo founder. But the reason I'm telling you this now is because the challenges that I saw as a solo founder and sort of, I guess, the discrimination you could almost say that I felt from investors and accelerator programs that just would not take me or even speak to me for being a solo founder. So the sooner you can bring in a co-founder, the better. The sooner you can make sure you're aligned in morals, in a vision, in how and when to build what you're trying to build and kind of how to get there. Those are all very good signs. If there's any type of conflict or signs very early that you may not be on that same page, then I absolutely would not enter into that relationship because it's only going to explode from there.